Good afternoon, everyone. We have with us Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya, who is the CEO and chairperson at Salesforce India. Prior to Salesforce, she was the first woman chairperson at SBI, where she has been credited with ushering SBI in the era of digital transformation. She's also been conferred with numerous awards and titles. To name a few, she's on the list of Forbes' World's 100 Most Powerful Women, Fortune's list of top 50 globally most powerful women in business, and also on the list of world's 50 greatest leaders. Ma'am, it's an honor and privilege to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll begin the discussion taking on from your personal journey. We often discuss that change is the only constant, and you have taken up 11 different responsibilities at SBI and then changed your domain completely from financial industry to future tech. So what has made you constantly move out of your comfort zone?
So I think, it's just that I don't believe that staying within one's comfort zone adds to any growth within you. And I like to be challenged because the more challenged you are, the better, the sharper you become, the more is your ability to learn and to change. And frankly, that's very important as a survival skill, the ability to change with the times, the ability to take on new things. And remember, in SBI, they not only changed my roles, but they changed the geography that I was working in. So I have worked in the north, south, east, and west of India. I've worked abroad for 4 years. And every one of them meant, getting to know new types of people, new ways of working, new customs, new cuisine, new languages. So, the whole gamut, so to speak. And I would therefore say, while it is true that you feel challenged, but on the other hand, we also need to realize that, challenges are what make life interesting. And you will win most of them. Some, of course, you will lose. But when you win, there is a satisfaction that you get that actually nothing else can give you. No amount of remuneration, no amount of anything can give you that inner satisfaction. So, when I look back and the memories that remain with you are the good ones. The memories of the troubles that you went through in order to get there, they fade, but the memories of what you achieved, they remain with you. And I think, then it seems all worthwhile.
Most certainly, most certainly. And in fact, even as a race, we have survived because of our adapting capabilities.
Very true.
I think another question that most of us would have is that with your kind of experience, with over decades of experience, what is your observation of women in leadership? And what will be your advice to young women in startups or in the corporate world who are currently in middle management?
So, the thing about women is today we are, of course, evolving. I was just checking out the first woman probationary officer in SBI joined in 1960. So it took us 53 years to travel from that first rung to the C-suite. And obviously, in between, it's not as though people didn't have the talent or the ability. It's just that, it takes time to make your way ahead, to forge your way ahead. A lot of these people actually, they made my path smoother. And therefore, if you are in middle management grade, remember always that there are people who are smoothing the path in front of you. And it's your responsibility as well to smoothen the path for those who will come after you. And therefore, giving up is not really an option. It should be the very last option that you exercise. And therefore, the main advice that I give everybody is that you've got to hang in there. If you give up, if you just let it go, then, well, it's a very easy solution. Don't do that. Just stay there, stay the course, and somehow or the other you will find that you'll be able to come out at the other end. What appears to be like a dark tunnel, there's definitely a light at the end of it, and you will find it, but you have to stay the course.
Yeah.
Women, I think, have a few disadvantages in the sense, at least in India, we continue in our role as primary caregivers. And in that role, what happens is you get ridden with a lot of guilt feelings. What I want to tell these women is that guilt feelings are normal to anybody. Even a homemaker has guilt feelings. Do you think the homemaker doesn't get guilt feelings every once in a while? Guilt feelings not only because what they have done for their children or what they haven't, but also what have they done for themselves. I know of some very talented, schoolmates and college mates of mine who, when their children are 14 or 15, really question themselves as to whether they've wasted their life. Because at that age, the children stop needing their parents around. They're going on their own, and you need to allow them to sort of unfurl their wings and fly. And if you're doing that, then, the question then comes back, what then am I doing? Not only that, you're like two trees. You put one in the shade and you put one in the sunlight. So, any partnership between spouses, when you start the partnership, you're almost at the same level. But one person is getting exposed to a lot of external influences, and like a tree in the sunshine, it's growing. The other person, the external influences are far limited, and therefore it's in the shade and doesn't grow so much. So what happens is there comes a time when the gap becomes quite big, and then the time that comes, when you can really partner your spouse or your partner, that time you realize that you all have grown apart, that the chasm is too large, that you've not grown at the same extent as the other person. So then you start questioning, and what happens is, if there is a sense of bitterness or a sense of non fulfillment within you, it starts reflecting into the family. You can't keep it within yourself. So, I don't think, their guilt may be of a different kind, our guilt may be of a different kind. When you're feeling too guilty, sit down and try and rationalize that, does it make sense what I'm doing to myself? It does it make sense? This self pity is not something that you want to indulge in. Just sit down and be practical and think it through, and you will find that you can rationalize most actions. Remember also, everybody comes into this world with their own destiny. You cannot change the destiny of another person. That person will have to live his or her life the way it is meant to be. So to that extent, to make yourself guilty for somebody else's way of life is not right. So I think, at the end of the day, we have to become far more practical.
Yeah. Yeah. So having patience is key, and also to overcome this feeling of guilt, to be everywhere at the same time, doing everything to perfection.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what has been your source of energy to constantly take on, new opportunities, new roles in the past and even today? If there is one constant source that you look towards.
So it's very difficult to say what is the source of my energy. It's just that, I like to be, uh, you know, to be challenged. I like to learn. I've always learned. From day one, I have tried to learn as much from my surroundings as I have from people and from books. And I feel that whenever I'm stopping, it's as though I'm getting dated, as though, that urge in me to get better and better, that is going to go away. And that sort of impels me on to do newer things. And it doesn't mean that, when I'm done with this particular career or job, that I'm going to stop. Maybe I'll do something else. I have a bucket list of stuff. Like, I have always wanted to do a PhD, which I never got to do. I've always wanted to learn Sanskrit. I've always wanted to learn sketching, for that matter. And I've never had a chance of doing all of those. So maybe I will start with something like that. But the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, unless you're discovering new worlds, unless you're discovering new capabilities, unless you're doing something different, what is it that, every morning I want to get up and think of something nice that is going to happen. I remember when as a student, I used to think of what is it that will excite me in the morning. Even a test used to excite me. So, it's like, okay, you're going for a nature walk. What's going to excite me? If I see a butterfly, it'll excite me. Similarly, I'm going to school, it's going to be the same old school, but yeah, there's a test today. So that'll excite me. So, you have to have in your life something that you are looking forward to. It may be a challenge, it may not be something really pleasant, but at the end of the day, it's something different. And it's what will actually, help you grow and help you learn. So I think, you need to be of a mindset where you want to be out of your comfort zone, not you within your comfort zone. That is what, propels you and gives you that interest in life. When that interest in life wanes, it's like, well, you're a walking dead. So what's the big point in it? That's not life. Life is, for living. Life is to be energized. And I think that's what happens when you're constantly looking out for something more.
So it's the general zeal for life, for everyday life.
Absolutely.
Okay. Coming to your current workplace, as a cloud-based software company, Salesforce offers CRM services and a host of, complementary suites of services. How is Salesforce driving innovation when consumer demand is constantly changing? We often see that the startups also today use readily available tools and marketplaces. So how is Salesforce driving innovation within itself?
So innovation is one of the basic values that Salesforce pounds. Okay, so innovation is something, that we have accepted as the DNA of the organization. And if you look at Salesforce and the kind of solutions that they have come up with, whether it be work.com, which basically enables you to monitor your workforce and ensure that they are healthy, that they are able to get back to work, what would be the requirements for those. As you know, you have to have today, safe zones, and, you have to maintain social distancing. So it means, the same space cannot be used by that many people. So there have to be shifts and all kinds of things. Similarly, the solution that we came up with regarding the vaccine cloud is being extensively used in a number of countries, the vaccine cloud solution. For that matter, the COVID map of India runs on one of our analytics suites, which is Tableau. So, we came with a large number of innovations even during this period. And the fact that we were working at 110% even during this period, that is innovation itself. We never realized that we could be so collaborative, that within the digital platform too, there can be so much of collaboration. Means I could never imagine opening a deal, negotiating it, closing it, and going live all remotely.
Yeah.
This period of lockdown, we have gone live in 446 installations, all done remotely. So
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, innovating how you work, we realized one thing, that we had been sort of torn apart and locked into our own private spaces. So we needed to break that, and we needed to get back in touch with each other and get back in touch with the customer. So that needed a lot of work. How do you do it? What are the processes? How do you ensure productivity? How will we monitor what each one is doing? How will we upgrade them? How will we keep skilling them? What are the ways in which, we can continue to ensure that the workforce is fully motivated and energized? We knew that there were a large number of people, for instance, the younger people, many of them live with their parents. It's a shared house. So they have themselves, their spouse, and their two children, all working with screens in maybe
Yeah.
four corners of one room. How do you manage that? What do you do in order to help them, through this period? Because there was a lot of stress, and especially imagine the women. Many of them were also having to look after housework because the part-time help was not being allowed in. So, it was a time when everybody tried to innovate on their lifestyle, innovate on how they are going to continue to work, and at the same time give the solutions that your customers need, because the customers were really at a loss as to how to get back in touch with their own customers, how
Yeah.
to establish supply chains. So I think, we have really lived our value during this period when we have come with several new solutions.
We also got to know that Salesforce has made its made in India investment in Darwin Box. So, what according to you are the most relevant technologies today, or areas of potential when it comes to technology adoption?
So I think, the areas of potential are, of course, today, for instance, we really have to move from the on-prem, installations that people have to cloud. And I would say today, we have the cloud 3.0. There was a time when, cloud was meant for enterprise businesses. It was providing the solutions for enterprise. And then, 10 years after that, there was cloud 2.0, when basically the social media took over. There was a huge sort of, sudden explosion of social media usage. And today it is cloud 3.0, where basically, we are ensuring that most of the solutions come onto the cloud, so that it gives you the ability to be elastic about your usages, as well as ensure that you can very quickly uh, be agile and nimble in adopting of newer technologies, and ensure that, it's not only a B2B play, but it becomes a B2C play. So it's become a B2B to C kind of a play. So I think, today the technologies that are most relevant are, of course, cloud, and the ability to have everything on a digital plane. Those are the main things. Added to that, I think what everybody is looking for is ease of business. How quickly can you do things? So integration is very important. You have so many legacy systems, right? So the Salesforce bought MuleSoft on that basis, that you have so many of these systems, legacy systems, and you need to draw data from all of them in order to come up with whatever, be the analytical piece that you want to have, the intelligence that you need to have in order to better connect with these customers. So, that's the reason why Salesforce acquired MuleSoft, which is basically an integration software. So it can pull from all legacy systems and then create the APIs that will enable you to consume these newer applications very, very quickly. Similarly, Salesforce also acquired Tableau, which is considered to be one of the world's foremost graphic analytics software company. Okay, so it can provide you in graphics the results of the very many analytical studies that you do on the data that you have. So, that is very simple to understand. It immediately appeals to you, because just one look at the graph and you are able to a graphical representation, you are able to get the idea. Okay, similarly, we also announced the intention to acquire Slack. Slack, as you know, is a collaborative tool. So it's a tool for collaboration. And that is very essential, again, because we have this work from anywhere concept now. People are not able to get into a conference room in order to collaborate. Whiteboards are absent. So, it's very difficult to do the collaboration piece. And that is why Salesforce is looking at acquiring Slack at this point, that process is underway. Okay. So the fact is that we've been looking around for the technologies that make sense in this digital world, where work from anywhere is going to become the norm, and where you will need all kinds of channels to connect with your customer, be it physical, be it digital, be it phygital, whichever you call it. You need to be able to have multiple channels to your customer, and you need to be able to provide the solutions from anywhere. You also need to ensure that your people can work from anywhere, still be collaborative, still come up with the solutions that you need them to come up with.
It's wonderful, wonderful how Salesforce has been driving innovation. Ma'am, you would have been a part of tons of board meetings in your career. How do you suggest that we fill the chairs by women that is currently lacking in these board meetings across sectors, across industries?
See, it's not as though there are not enough sufficient women. And what I have found is this, that most boards, they try and get C-suite people to sit on the board. Okay. And when they go for the woman, even though she may be otherwise very competent, she may not have as yet reached the C-suite. She may be just below that. And then they have a feeling that it wouldn't be proper to bring in this woman because she would not be on par with the other members that I have on the board. We have to understand it's a fact of life that many women have not yet reached the C-suite. So it's
Yes.
perfectly all right to take a person who's slightly lower, but who has the abilities. But boards have this mindset that when I take a woman, it has to be a C-suite woman. How many C-suite women are around? Yes, the numbers are going up by the day. But as I said, if it took 53 years or whatever it took, 53 years for a person in SBI, for a woman in SBI to reach the C-suite, you can imagine the fact that obviously the number of women as compared to the number of men who are ex C-suite are limited. And that is where I think a compromise needs to be made. It's not a compromise, it's a practical decision that has to be made, that you choose the women for their abilities, not for the position that they have occupied. If that can be done, and if boards take a view on this, they take a particular call on this, that my idea is to get in a competent women with execution background, the ability to plan, that's fine with me. I don't need an ex C-suite person only. If that is done, I'm telling you there will be no problem in filling up the seats. There are sufficiently able and capable women who are willing to participate in these kinds of exercises, and who are willing to be on the boards. I can provide myself at least 20 names right now if asked. But yes, they did not reach the C-suite. They retired before that. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that their capabilities were not there. It's only a few number who can reach the C-suite. After all, it's only one or two
Yes.
or three seats. So we have to sort of uh, maybe understand why these seats are not getting filled up, and then bring about a change of mindset to look at women with abilities rather than with titles.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, in line with what you have just said, there's a McKinsey research which shows that even women who climb up the ladder and who reach C-level or executive levels, the gender pay gap also still exists. So, what is your observation on it? And is Salesforce doing anything to address this gap?
So actually, Salesforce is doing a lot to address it. In fact, this was suggested to Mark Benioff a few years back, and he instructed his HR function to do an audit. So the HR function came back to him and told him, look, once we do the audit, you may actually have to commit a number of dollars because of the pay gap that we are sure we will find. And he was confident that that couldn't be the case. That, we were being very fair, we have very strong values on this. He was quite confident about it. Actually speaking, after the entire exercise was over, Salesforce ended up paying something like $5 to $7 million, okay, in closing the pay gap. And subsequently, every year, there is an exercise that is run to ensure that people are getting equal pay. Till
Okay.
date, we have spent $15 million in ensuring that equal pay happens. Because along the way, we acquire a number of companies, and then we have to, ensure that there too this problem doesn't arise. So there is this problem. This is not something that's going to go away in a hurry. It's something where you have to work in a sustained manner with full conviction that this is what I'm going to do. And this is as I said, this equality exercise is run across countries, across genders, across minority groups in Salesforce, to ensure that equal work entails equal pay. We are extremely committed to this. And I think it's all for the good, because it definitely gives people a sense of being, of somebody having their back.
Yes. Yes. And is there a piece of advice that you would want to give to women in leadership, especially say women who are starting up right now with their first companies, first startups?
Well, the piece of advice I have to give them is that, in entrepreneurship, if anything can go wrong, it will. Start from that premise, just start from that premise and you'll never be disappointed. So you have to be very, very resilient. Make up your mind that you're going to be resilient, that you're going to face all of these issues. The second piece of advice, and I'm giving you a second piece, even though I wasn't asked for it, but the second piece of advice I want to give is this, that many people have a lot of good ideas, but just good ideas is not going to get you there. There are a few functions which you must have in order to ensure that your venture is a success. So it's not only a good idea, but it's also good governance. It's also understanding of the markets. It's collaboration with people of your nature in order to get the collaborative strength. And it's also ensuring that you are able to communicate well enough to the market what you are doing. So, all of these pieces are required. And if you are missing out one of these pieces, it's best to hire that talent because it will be necessary. I have
Yeah.
seen people with grand ideas, but they simply don't understand finance. Doesn't work. At some point of time, finance is very important. Similarly, again, great products, but you don't know how to get it to market. The marketing piece is missing. Similarly, again, in respect of collaboration, be competitors within that particular set, but be collaborators too in respect of the rest of the ecosystem. Because, in a group, there is a strength which you alone will not be able to have. So, whether it be representing to government, representing to authorities, representing to regulators, you have to have the interest of the industry at heart. Just having your own narrow interest doesn't make any sense.
Of course.
You simply have to be part of that industry, because then what will happen, everybody ends up benefiting. Okay, so I think these are absolutely requirements if you really wish to grow and establish the business. And as I said, over and above all of this, you must have resilience. Without resilience, it's very difficult to make it work.
Yeah. So resilience, patience, just idea wouldn't lead you anywhere. A team with all the skill sets.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
So now,
collaborative spirit.
yes, yes. We would now move to a fun segment, which is the rapid fire round.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So if you had to pick one, okay, while hiring a resource, if you had to pick between qualification versus experience, what
I'd
would you
go for
pick?
experience. I would go for experience. My own hiring shows it. I don't know why Mark Benioff hired me, other than for my experience, because I'm
Yeah.
a major in English literature, for heaven's sake. What made him hire me? So,
Yeah.
obviously, a person like him has had experience over qualifications. So every
Yeah.
time I would go for experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Empathy versus hard skills.
So I think, empathy is very important. Very, very important. You will find lots of students doing excellently in school, very
Hmm.
high IQs. When it
Hmm.
comes to a career, they often fall behind. And that's because their EQ is too low. See, at one point of time when your IQ can propel you as a individual contributor, but your IQ won't propel you to doing what is called a collaborative teamwork and taking the whole organization forward. So if you lack in
Hmm.
empathy, no amount of hard skills is going to make up for it.
Yes. Yes. Domain
Skills can
expertise.
be learned. Skills can be learned. Empathy
Yeah.
is something that is there within you.
Inherent. Yeah. More inherent.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between domain expertise versus diversified experience.
So, it depends upon the role that we are looking for. Okay. So domain expertise is when you really need specialization. But if you're looking for leadership role, then you need diverse experience. And in fact, even in my earlier organization, we used to do that. We used to create domain expertise, but we used to look for the stars, and those stars we would give them several different kinds of exposures, because unless and until you have diverse
Experience,
experience,
yeah.
pure one domain excellence is not going to help you. However, there are people who don't want to go out of their domain. They want to be evangelists within. So
Hmm.
that's fine, if that's what they makes them, do their best. They want to learn more and more and more and go deeper and deeper
Their
and
own
deeper
domain.
into a subject.
Yeah.
Fine, that's the role they are meant for. So it depends upon the role that you're hiring for, which one you should opt for.
Yeah. Yeah. And who is your inspiration? You can know him more than one people.
Now, basically, I'll tell you, the women in my family have been my inspiration. My mother, my aunt, they are really my inspiration, because they have really overcome tough times as compared to me. They had very little opportunities. They lost their parents at very early age, but they were such strong women, such strong women. And, for never for one moment did they allow me to forget that, I needed a career, that I needed to be standing on my own feet, that I needed an identity. So I think, I really idolize them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, yeah, it's women around us mostly who we learn from. Is
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there a go-to song when you're feeling low? Any favorites?
Actually, no, it's a very traditional kind of answer that I'm going to give to that. I
Huh.
find Ravindra Sangeet the best thing to listen to, because
Yeah.
Tagore is one who has a song for every mood, every single mood. Like today,
Mm.
for instance, I woke up in the morning and I was remembering a song from a play called Chitrangada that he had written. Chitrangada was basically the princess of Manipur, and she and Arjun, they had a fight. Chitrangada was in the man's dress, and it is only by chance, that he realized she was a woman when her headgear fell off and her hair streamed down. And then he proposed marriage to Chitrangada. And what Tagore's lyrics are, that if you put me higher up as a
Hmm.
devi and worship me, I'm not that. If you put me lower down and expect me to follow in your footsteps, I'm not that either. But if you
Hmm.
keep beside you in plenty and in trouble, if you make me part of your most difficult adventures, then that is the person that I am. Okay. So even this piece, like you have any kind of mood, you'll find a
Yeah.
Tagore song that will address it. It's just too
Yeah.
much. The lyrics are just way, way out. So
And
yeah,
this is what we are learning today with feminism, you know. Ki don't put us on a pedestal, don't look down
that's
upon us. Just treat us as equals.
yeah. And he wrote it so many years back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many years back. Okay. So the thing
Yeah.
is, every single mood that you can possibly think of, there
There
is
would
a
be a
song.
song.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And if you were to go back to your 20s, say, what would you aim to be today?
Ah, that's
You can say where you are probably,
the
but
only thing that, if I had to do it all over again, I'd
yeah.
probably study economics and not English. Okay.
Okay.
Because English was, I think, the lazy way out. I already was good in it. I already could communicate well. And economics would have given me the theoretical underpinning for my earlier career. Okay.
Mm.
Which was something that I had to learn on the job. And while I learned it from the practical side of it, the theoretical underpinnings were still not there. And I
Yeah.
suppose, if I got to do it over again, I would like to do that. But other than that, I think I'm fine with what I did. Yes, at one
Well
point of
lived
time,
life.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be a doctor. At one point of time, I decided to be a journalist. So I've wanted to be many, many things.
Everything.
But yeah, but at the end of the journey, I think I'm comfortable being where I am.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to, again, going back to our picking between two things, if you had to choose between people versus technology.
Well, I will choose people every time, though I'm in a technology company. I
Yeah.
think, people create technology, and technology is there to serve human beings, not the other way around. So,
Yeah.
unless and until you have the right people, you won't have the right technology. So, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, technology is what will help us decode many of the mysteries of the universe, decode what causes disease, decode, why we feel what the way we do. But, all of this decoding ultimately has to be done by people.
Yeah.
If you ask me to
Technology.
choose
Yeah.
between the two, surely I would choose people.
Yeah. Corporate versus startup.
That's a different one. Yeah, because I've done corporate for too long. And in fact, I came into Salesforce because they had a startup like atmosphere in India. We are very
Yeah.
small in India, right?
Yeah.
We really are like a startup here in India. So at this point of time, a startup is preferable. I've done my corporate, I've served that piece.
And if you had to choose between work and family, I know like, you can't choose one, but if it was a difficult choice at a given scenario.
See, it all depends. I think even if I had chosen family and had given up this work, I would have done something else. I would
Hmm.
have done something else which would have taken care of them and yet allowed me to have my creativity, allowed me to reach out and do things. So I don't think I can manage without work. It's an impossible kind of a feeling. At the same
Yeah.
time, I can't manage without family either. So, it's not really a choice between the two.
Yeah.
What really is the matter is, do you love what you're doing? If you don't love it, then don't do it. So whether it be family or whether it be work, if you just love being around your family, making a home, and you find a lot of creative outlet for your energies, and you think you are growing and you are learning, go for it. On
Yeah.
the other hand, if you feel that work is where you'll find your outlet, go for it as well. If you think
Yeah.
that you can balance between the two, great for you. And again, don't think that, even when you're balancing, that you'll have the best of both worlds. You won't. There will be times when one will take precedence over the other, and it will depend from time to time. So you've got to sort of balance out the whole thing and not expect too much from either. If your
Yeah.
expectations you cut your coat according to your cloth, if you do that, then you'll find overall you'll have a happy time.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. This has been a wonderful session, and your journey motivates us itself. I hope that we have more women entrepreneurs who create more jobs, create value, and become leaders. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, I'm sure it'll happen. And I have seen them, I've seen so many stories. I remember one lady, I'll just take 2 minutes of your time.
Sure,
This girl,
definitely.
she started with four, saris, plain saris on which she fabric painted, and then
Yeah,
actually she went and sold them on the local train. That's how she started. When I met
yeah.
her, her turnover was already 1 crore rupees, and she was
Wow,
employing 10 people. So, you
wow.
have such fantastic stories that inspire you out, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
those stories don't get told, sadly. But the fact of the matter is, I think women, if they put their mind to it, they can do anything.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome.